Hi guys, it's Librarian Heather here. How y'all doing today? Hope you're having a great week. It's Thursday again, and here we are having ready to have some fun. And it's a historic day today. I didn't get to see much of it, but I turned it on right at the time they said it was going to touch down. But we've had a Mars landing today, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. We have some intellectual freedom news. It's kind of a jam-packed day. So, what happened today? I think it's kind of been like a 2-year mission in the making, and it culminated today with the landing. What's interesting to me is this is sort of a space race. We have multiple countries all going to Mars to do their own scientific missions. Who knows, a little bit political, little ties to everything. But I was actually pretty excited to see how cool everything was going. Oh, hello, TLO. Hello. Nice to see you. Honestly, it's like the biggest thing ever. I felt like for a long time that, growing up, the space race was actually just like really exciting. We lived in the future, that we were exploring, and we're like Star Trek, and we're going out there in the universe. My hair's doing weird things. We're going out in the universe and exploring and being adventurers and being smart and using our brains to get off of this planet and go see what the hell is out there. And it was always a huge part of my dreaming and growing up, was that I thought someday maybe I could go to outer space. Maybe it'll be so common that everybody will. And they keep dangling that carrot in front of all of us, like, oh, like, I don't know if it was Tesla or what was talking about. The Elon Musk company was saying that he wanted to have flights out, and it might have been Richard Branson too. I mean, there's all these companies that are in competition to get out there and make it so it can be a consumer fed thing too, which I'm totally cool with. I would love, before I am off of this mortal coil, there's aliens, but they don't want to come. So we got to go to them, Goat Killer. We got to go to them. And I think that this is just great, seeing that once again, NASA is, kicking this in the butt, and we're getting out there. And there was a lot that I didn't know about it, because I was, you kind of go, oh, what are they going to do when they get there, right? So they had their Mars rover. It's successfully touched down at, I think it was 3:55 p.m. today. And so I was looking at it, watching, and they were all cheering in their center, like with all the TVs and everything. And it was really exciting. It felt like when I was a kid, seeing space stuff before like the Challenger exploded. I think we lost a lot of innocence then, and we became more safety. And I just kind of wonder, all these things that we dream about, when you have things like that, it changes your whole attitude about what's possible. And is it too dangerous? And everything is dangerous, but there is value in the science that can be found from there. So they started their exploration today, Thursday. They have the landing of, it's called Perseverance. So that I like in this time of COVID. We need a lot of perseverance out there, getting out there and exploring. Hey, cat. So I've just fed the cat, and so we'll see if he's all psycho now. So got the protein zoomies. So this Perseverance is kind of a smaller robotic explorer. They say it's about the size of a car, and it's going to search for traces of ancient life on the planet and collect what could be some of the first rocky samples from Mars that are sent back to Earth. So the rover is touched down at 3:55 p.m. Eastern time. So after executing a daring and dramatic landing that has been nicknamed the 7 minutes of terror. That makes sense, because, I got done with work at around 4, so that wouldn't have made sense. but I got to see it. So Perseverance is now NASA's 5th rover to land on Mars and is set to begin its 2-year mission to roam its surface and search for signs of ancient microbial life. How cool is that? And also, it's the latest of 3 new missions that arrived at the Red Planet in February. They had to time it because it takes a while for, to get from Earth to Mars. And it takes a while because they have to time it correctly, because you go for the shortest distance. You go so you get the right angle, the trajectory, so they can get there in the easiest way possible. So the other 2 that arrived there, so we had the United Arab Emirates and China. They got there first, and they reached Mars, and they've moved into orbit around the planet. So they're there too. So it's a lot of work going on this planet, and a lot of discovery and interesting stuff that could be going on. So this much anticipated Perseverance mission could answer key questions about Mars history and the evolution of the planet, but also a crucial stepping stone towards NASA's goal of sending humans to explore the Red Planet. So one step closer to getting off of this rock and going and seeing the universe. I'm so excited. So it just was a good feeling today. And I know that the engineers at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California, are so relieved that everything went really well. There's so much testing that goes before they even send ships out into space. But to get ready for this, when they're using what's called a space crane, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. But it's a $3 billion mission. So there's so many ways that things could go wrong, but it's quite exciting that it didn't. Check my comments. Oh my goodness. Goat killer. You're killing me so much. All the things the government hides and lies to. NASA lies too. I know there's lies, there's lying liars, but I know enough. I know enough to know that they're streaming it. There are people that I know who work in some of those positions. I'm like, enough people would be like, if they faked it, they would say something. But I always have that thing in the back of my mind. That's my tinfoil hat that's always on, right? What aren't they showing us? What if they flew by and there was like a little green man sitting there waving? They probably wouldn't show that to us, right? So always have a grain of salt. Always have a grain of salt, right? I totally believe that. But let me tell you, I was very excited that we're even going back there, because I feel like, what a waste of our government's been just so stupid about science and avoiding it and at all costs, and exploration, and there's commercial interest in it too. I mean, like, I'm sure there's interesting discoveries that could be made there that could further our own technology on our planet. There could be an understanding of, like, just human life that could come from it. What if, like, from something we find on that planet, there's a cure for all disease? You never know. Like, something that could be on there, on that planet, could be something that could be a game changer for us. And until we go there, who knows? So I am excited, and the optimist in me is very excited about it. So where did they go? They landed on an area of Mars known as the Jezero crater, a 28-mile wide basin that lies just north of the Martian equator. So there they are. So there's evidence that an ancient river once flowed the Jezero, forming a delta billions of years ago. And so they had all the right ingredients for life to show up. So what they're wondering is, was there life on Mars? Did it go away? So the region that this Perseverance robotic rover will be able to inspect rocks as old as 3.6 billion years old and search for biosignatures or traces of organic matter in the Martian sediments. So it could be just great. We could find things. What if we found evidence that there were not just life, but maybe like people had been there, or some sort of life form had been there? So, in our own planet, you look at minerals like this, and we have fossils. So why, if there was some sort of life on that planet, it might not have been like sentient life, but it could have been anything. Which reminds me, I found this really cool. There's a podcast. Okay, let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Let's see if I can make this bigger. There was a 1912 hoax about life on Mars that I thought was actually interesting. And this reminds me of it. Let's see if I can just show it. Let's see. Share. Rory. Where is it? There it is. It's on this website called the Planetary Society. And you guys see that? There we go. So what it was, let me go back to that, is there was a news article in the Salt Lake Tribune where Mars, what they said, was peopled by one vast thinking vegetable. So they said that those little river valleys and canals were just filled with this giant life form that took the whole planet. And people, I mean, this got like on front page news, and they just ran with it, and they said there were facts about it. And it was from the Lick Observatory, explained that the canals, eyes, and other puzzling problems of our neighbor planet. So people just went nuts with it. And they said that there were like pod people and like, you know, crazy, and they could come here and the eyeballs would extend out from the planet so they could look at Earth. And it was amazing. But this hoax, it was included in the Big Book of Mars by Mark Hartzman. So if you're interested in reading more about how that hoax came about, definitely check that out. It is kind of hilarious to me, though, that something like that probably made it get into people's head about the little green men, and how we have always had an obsession with Mars, you know, that there's life there, and there always feels like there's something to it, you know. They always say that with animals in general, there's like a consciousness that is shared, and humans aren't as good at that. You know, we're not like tying into our ancient consciousness. So maybe there is something we know about Mars, you know, but oh yeah, here, Eric, you're so right. Just be sure when you subcontract your mission into pieces that all your subcontractors use the same engineering units. Otherwise, you get a repeat of controlled descent through terra firma. Oh my God, right? Yeah, you have to be all on the same page. And that's the one thing, is like there's commercial potential, and people really love that idea that, you know, you can get like, because someone like Elon Musk wants to go into outer space. He has tons of money, great ideas, great people working for him. It could happen. But then, you know, you can't do everything. And so you bring in another company, and they somehow get the wires crossed, and you could blow up your whole spaceship because you don't, you're not all on the same page. So I thought, like, that is a really good point, Eric, that the good thing about one place like NASA doing everything is that they can have control from start to finish. But that's not really how our world works anymore. So what you need is, you need to have a system where you can have the control, but you also divide it up. So you divide and conquer, and you can do more. I always think about that, you know, when they have like Star Trek and they're building spaceships, like how do they make it work? You know, like in some of the movies they showed them building it on Earth, but like such huge scale. And like, how do you get like everyone, like all these different countries to agree on how the system works, or like what metric, or, you know, like, are we going to use a metric system? Come on, you know, you have to use the right screws. I had a problem with that. I had a gift where I had to get a screw. It's some weird Eastern European screw size that nobody had. And I went to all these different places, and eventually I gave up and I just glued it. But you can't just glue the space station or the spaceship, can you? So I think about that a lot. But anyway, so the Perseverance was launched on July 2020. So it's there now. It's equipped with a drill, a 7-foot-long robotic arm, and 7 different science instruments. So It's there now. And let's see if I can show this picture. I think it's from Twitter. Sometimes it's hard to. I wish I could click on some of these Twitter pictures a little bit better. So this is from 2 hours ago. They landed. Let me just get to that screen. We'll share that. Oh, here we go. Here's my Twitter one. So this is what they see. This is 2 hours ago, and they already got the feed. This is their first step on Mars in the rover. There's not people there, right? But it's just amazing. Just amazing. So kind of cool, right? I just get excited about that, and just seeing that like what's there. One of the things that they have is also a small helicopter with the rover. It's carrying it. So I think it's kind of more like a drone. They call it a helicopter, but they call the helicopter Ingenuity. So Perseverance and Ingenuity are on the planet. How funny is that? So they're going to do a first controlled flight on another planet. And if it's successful, the helicopter technology could be groundbreaking for planetary science. So this Robert Zubrin, he wrote The Case for Mars and is the founder of the Mars Society, which you should look at. It's a nonprofit organization that advocates for human exploration of the red planet. So if you too want to go to another planet like I do, you might be interested in joining that society. So the rovers can travel a couple hundred meters a day, but a flight vehicle could expand that greatly. So it could be a couple seconds. So instead of like just chugging along, they're zipping around up in the sky. So what the atmosphere is like on Mars, it's a little more conducive to it than say some of these storm planets where there's a lot more going on. But I think Mars is definitely conducive to that. So it can really elevate the science that we're doing there. So fingers crossed that little helicopter works, because that would be awesome. So it's going to take measurements. Perseverance is going to take measurements of the Martian weather, dust storms, use radar equipment and instruments to probe geologic features underground, do experiments to see if oxygen for breathing and propellants can be produced from this carbon dioxide rich atmosphere. So they could maybe terraform the planet so that way people could live there. They'd have to do some adjustments, obviously. But can you imagine like them having little bubble cities on there? It could happen. So they want to send astronauts to the red planet. That's their intent. And I think that's what they're trying to figure out now. So it won't be like now. It took 2 years pretty much for all of this to happen and for them to get there. But if they do this, they could send people off in another year or so. And in a couple of years, we could have people on Mars within our lifetime. How amazing is that? So if we go to Mars, we can't rely on sending everything from Earth, said Chris Carberry, co-founder and CEO of Explore Mars. This experiment is designed to see if we can live off the land, he says. So they're going to collect the Martian rocks. They're going to do tests on that. And they're going to see, is it viable? Is it something that we could have a space station out there? It's pretty exciting. I feel like we're getting on the right track again. So we'll see. The Hope probe is designed to operate as a weather satellite. So they got that. And so this is, it's the focus of 24 hours later, China's Tianwen-1 orbiter is also going around the planet, and the rover is also, so they're entering the orbit around Mars, marking a significant accomplishment for the country's rapidly advancing space program. So multiple space programs, all there. I think there is a race. This is my tinfoil hat side. Is I feel like there is a race for tap it all. I believe that there's life. I do too. I don't, I love this, David. I don't want to go on another planet with humans. They ruined this one already. I know. Can we just go now? Yes. We could have an awesome planet of cool people. You can only go if you're cool. Yes. Easiest planet overall leading to terraforming. It could be just amazing, right? So I'm just going through the comments. So many comments. Steps for space. Moon, Mars, Titan, Neptune. We could like have place. We could live throughout our solar system. Honestly, there is potential out there. Some of the planets are a little more dangerous and might not do as well, but there is definitely space for space stations along the way too. And I think people like the idea of being on a planet. It's a little safer and it's protected. So I think Mars is our first step. I mean, actually, the moon would make the most sense because it'd be easiest to go back and forth. But then Mars. So moon, Mars, absolutely. And then maybe further. I don't know. I don't think the other ones are going to happen in our lifetime. But I mean, things are going pretty fast now. So if they don't like you, they will leave you behind like the movie. Which one though? I was thinking like the Matt Damon, like the book. Yeah. And he just grows potatoes and he eats those. You'd get really sick of potatoes pretty quick. I'm just saying. Okay. So what else did I want to say? It's exciting. It's just exciting to me. And so the Perseverance mission is a welcome distraction from the past year of shit. You know what I'm talking about, pandemic. But having something amazing and new. Sorry, I ate chocolate just before I got on the air. Had little hazelnuts in it. It's so good. Anyway, so space, this is the quote I like. Space unites us because it's inspirational and aspirational, said Ivy, what's her first name? She's one of the Perseverance mission heads. Watching nearly impossible engineering feats actually happen can make you go, good things are possible and great things lie ahead. So I think this is the turning point. I really do. I think that because of this, I feel like good energy has gone out in the universe. Maybe we're going to science our way out of this. There's a really interesting article about how to get people from Earth to Mars and safely back again. It's on a website called The Conversation. And I thought that was a pretty good article. It was back from December 2020. So they talked about NASA and SpaceX working together to make an international space station, but they have competing ideas. So how do you make it work? How do you have these different government organizations and companies working together to make these things happen? And I thought that was kind of cool to see that it really does take a lot of communication and working together and a lot of brain power, but it shows to me that it's actually very possible. They talked about in this article from December, it said, from last December, it said that SpaceX plan is for the crewed Starship vehicle to be refueled in space by a separately launched fuel tanker. So they're going to send fuel up. That means that when they get there, along the way, they can stop and refuel and then keep going. So it can do it. And, I think it shows that they're being very thoughtful and getting ready for it. So this like piques my optimism even more. They say that there's something called a Hohmann. I was thinking Human, and that's not right. Hohmann, Hohmann, 2 N's like my last name. So is the most fuel efficient way to travel between two planets. So basically, without going into too much detail, it's where a spacecraft does a single burn into an elliptical transfer orbit from one planet to another. And to get at this point, with our technology, a Hohmann transfer between Earth and Mars takes about 259 days, between 8 and 9 months. So we could get there, but it's only possible every 2 years due to the different orbits around the sun and with the Earth and Mars. So to line it up right and to do this most efficient transfer, you have to time it perfectly. And we found in the past that weather can ruin your chances. You can have things go terribly wrong on launch day, and things make it tough. However, a spacecraft could reach Mars in a shorter time. SpaceX is claiming 6 months. They say that you can get there in 6 months. So if you could do it in 6 months, would you go to Mars? And I think 6 months is like, maybe, I mean, in the old timey days, people would take boats across the ocean and it'd take a long time, take months and months. If you knew that's what it took to get there to new possibilities and maybe new start, would you do it? but it costs more fuel to go in 6 months, to not use that, kind of orbital path. So it's all doable, but at what cost? And I think as technology changes and fuel gets better and more like powerful, and we get better ways of figuring this out, I think it's doable. I really do. I think we could go to another planet, um, just as like tourists, even. How amazing would that be? So this is what I thought was actually kind of cool. The atmosphere on Mars, however, is about 100 times thinner than Earth's. So there's less potential for drag. So you can land safer on Mars. But missions have to have, some missions have had to land on airbags. So they sometimes use thrusters. There's more fuel if you have thrusters. So there's technology ways you could work around it. So a Martian day, this is I thought was kind of interesting, lasts 24 hours and 37 minutes. But that's the similarities with Earth stop there. So you like don't get too excited. It won't be like this just like Earth. It's not, right? It's not. But the thin atmosphere, it can't retain heat well, so it gets really cold at night and super hot during the day. So it goes maximum temperature is about 30 degrees Celsius, which sounds pleasant, but the minimum temperature is about negative 140 degrees Celsius. Very, very cold. I think you would have to definitely have some sort of like bubble or something around like a space station out there. Just for some perspective, because Celsius is confusing. The Earth's South Pole, you think of how cold that is, and you couldn't live there, is negative 49 degrees Celsius. So the minimum temperature at night is negative 140 degrees Celsius. And the average temperature is negative 63. So very freaking cold. Probably not something where you're like, let's go outside today. No, you're never going outside. But, if you had like a dome and you had plant life in there and you could figure out a way to optimize the light that's coming in, it could be amazing. So I'm sorry. I'm just like a huge dreamer about it. Yes. Oh, let's see. The Mars mockumentary. Oh my God, I gotta see that. Where's the libertarian part today, Heather? Well, it doesn't have to be government telling you to do it. What if we got there and then you could get rid of all the stupid rules and start over? Here you go. You could have utopia on a new planet. Like you've already said it. Like this planet, we screwed it up. Why not go somewhere else and we can screw it up in a whole new way? And it could be exciting and amazing. So, yes, I see you, Kara. Hi. I'm sorry. I just like went on a rampage of like Mars stuff. So I was really excited about it today, and just seeing like that they had the sky crane. This is a maneuver that put the Perseverance on Mars. It was once considered a crazy idea, but now it worked. It totally worked, and they dropped it down, and it's kind of amazing. So the sky cranes, they had used that originally to put the Mars Curiosity on the red planet. But now they had like this like this weird parachute that was like they've done some tricky maneuvers to get it, and with their weird atmosphere, you kind of gotta go slide right in, so you don't want to wreck your equipment like landing. And they say in about 7 minutes anything can go totally wrong when they're landing the rovers. So, and it's $1 billion of equipment and testing equipment all in there, so you don't want to wreck it. But I think it's kind of awesome. So that's what I got. Let me look through the comments really quick. How do you remove the criminals from Utopia? I think if it's just you, that there's not. I mean, unless you're a criminal. So unless like your utopia is a criminal utopia, you could have all like space pirates, and we just do what we want, because that's kind of libertarian too. Like you could have it be like that. It could be super fun. I don't know how I feel about it. Like they're the innocence of space travel. It kind of, you get a lot of nerds out there, but like eventually we're going to have some space station where it's going to be anything goes, and people are just going to flock there. Because, like in this time, we're so Victorian with our masks and everything, and oppressed, and people are unhappy. Like, it's going to swing one way to the other. So maybe, I don't know. I have no opinion about what it's going to be like, as long as the government stays the hell out of it as much as possible. Let people figure it out. Like, if you're smart enough to get to another planet, you should be smart enough to not rely on the government to make all the decisions for you. You should be able to go, as a community there, let's decide what we want. So, we'll see. Pole dancing on Deep Space 3. I know, right? It could be. Like, why not? I mean, there's all these different ways that human minds go. Like, could be just like Las Vegas in space, or it could be like, I don't know, like Alexandria with knowledge and like beautiful waterfalls and the 7 wonders. I mean, you never know what you're going to get with humans. We'll find a way to fuck it up. But I just want to get there. Like, there's a selfish part of me that's like, I'm like getting close to the midlife, like the midlife thing where you're like, okay, I'm young enough that I could go to outer space. I'm young enough that I could enjoy it. Let's go now. Oh my God, right? So anyway, did you guys see the Mars landing today? What did you think about that? I thought it was pretty cool. Okay, so now we're at about the halfway point. Let's talk about some intellectual freedom news. One thing I wanted to bring up today, since we talked about pole dancing and sexy stuff, and I didn't see this in the news anywhere else. The Washington Post today, not last week, on February 10th, Larry Flynt died, and I didn't see this anywhere. And I just thought it was kind of interesting because intellectual freedom, he was actually a First Amendment champion, but he died at 78. The dude had a lot of health problems, and he was on all the drugs. But I was amazed he made it that far, that long. And he called himself a self-proclaimed champion of the First Amendment freedoms, and he created Hustler magazine, so spank stuff for like people forever. Oh, I should just like always remember to close my Outlook, but that never happens. I never get it. Closing it. Want to save your changes? No. There we go. So, Larry Flynt, back to it. He died on February 10th at his home in Los Angeles. His brother, Jimmy Flynt, confirmed the death, but did not cite a specific cause. Probably because he was in a wheelchair, and he was, if you remember the People versus Larry Flynt movie, which is a very good movie, and you should watch it, especially if you're a libertarian, because it talks about a lot of things good in my heart about the government putting way too many controls on things that adult people can deal with themselves, right? So anyway, in this, he was sued, prosecuted, jailed for contempt, gagged for obscene outbursts in court. And the guy was nutso. But he, at the very core of what he was saying, it was right. In 1978, he was shot and paralyzed by a would-be assassin. And he thrived on controversy. He loved it. As long as people are talking about him, he loved it. He had a gold-plated, velvet-lined wheelchair. That dude was pimp. So he was in a Grit to Glitter saga. He was a 9th grade dropout from the hills east of Kentucky. He was a street smarts, gutsy business instincts, and fists when necessary to parlay a string of shabby Ohio bars into a $100 million nationwide porn empire of magazines, private clubs, swank casino in Los Angeles, an online sex toy store. So he did a lot. And Hustler, whose circulation peaked above 2 million in the late 1970s, was kind of an alternative to like nicer. Well, Playboy was definitely nicer. It was high end, and Penthouse was even higher end. Hustler was lowbrow, but you know what? Everybody knew what it was, and it was offered as a blue collar and taboo smashing alternative. had all the naked parts, all the sexy stuff, and it had really dirty cartoons. So, Playboy and Penthouse, he once told an interviewer, were parading their pornography as art with airbrushing and the soft lens, making it pretty. And then he said, I realized that if we became more explicit, we could get a huge piece of this market. And I sensed that raw sex is what men wanted. And I was right. So he made a lot of money on it. So, oh man, I just think that's like, it's crazy. You just read about it. And, he was reviled. He had some really dirty stuff in there. And with feminism, you get like the how do I say this? They would say that some of the things like bondage and bestiality and mutilation. And there's a naked woman being put through a meat grinder in June 1978, it says. So people hated Hustler. They hated it. They wanted it to be gone. And feminist Gloria Steinem branded him as a violent, sadistic pornographer. So people loved him, though, because of his crazy ass life. And he had books and that autobiography and the movie The People versus Larry Flint in 1996. Milos Forman directed it, co-produced by Oliver Stone, starring Woody Harrelson. So good. They said it softened the harsher aspects of his career and his views towards women. He's a smut peddler, right? So people didn't like his view, and it was very brazen and open, and that's why he didn't like that. No one liked him. But what he did was quite important because he opposed death penalty. He favored same-sex marriage. He spoke out against the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003. He published numerous non-pornographic mainstream periodicals. He had a private foundation that he created to contribute to research in spinal cord injuries, child abuse, and youth violence. So even though he was kind of on the edge, I just think you should take a moment to remember that Larry Flint did some stuff. And he made a tongue-in-cheek run to be president in 1984 as a Republican. And then he trumpeted himself as a Democrat 14 years later. So people are confused as hell because he was in support of Bill Clinton during his sex-tinged impeachment proceedings in Congress. So it's is he really? So at that time, in an effort to showcase hypocrisy among Clinton's Republican prosecutors, Mr. Flint offered an advertisement in the Washington Post up to $1 million for proof that a member of Congress or other senior government official was enmeshed in an adulterous affair. So he took advantage of a lot of it. And I just thought, that guy was so not likable in so many ways, but he was fascinating. And he had offensive speech at public figures. He was always talking about the First Amendment. People who were public figures were always trying to say is defamation, and it's no, you have nothing to stand on. So here, First Amendment advocates cheered the decision as a breakthrough for satirical speech, because we could hardly draw the way we do if subjects could claim emotional stress as a result. So he was at the forefront of political cartoonists. So even though his cartoons in Hustler were super dirty, because of the things he did and stuff that he put out, and people would have lawsuits against him, he set the stage for having more free press and a more powerful First Amendment. So we would not be where we are today without some of the things that pornographer, Larry Flint from Hustler, did. And so I tip my hat to him. He had a hard life. And some of the things that, came out about him were pretty terrible. I'm just going to say he's not someone that we're wow, the world is so much worse because he's gone. But it's definitely better because he was here for some of the shitty things he put out there. So Hustler, there you go. Larry Flint, he had 5 wives, I think. And he was accused of molesting one of his kids. So he's there's some shit about him that you're just like, ugh, it's gross. Larry Flint, gross. But people like him also make some of this stuff happen. So there you go. That's my homage. It was a really shitty homage, but to Larry Flint, thank you for making things a little freer in the world. He had said one thing that I thought was actually kind of good. My position is that you pay the price to live in a free society, and the price is toleration of some things that you don't like. He told the Seattle Times in 1996. And he goes, you have to tolerate the Larry Flints of this world. Thank you, Larry Flint. Um, Rest in peace. So yeah. Oh, here, Oscar Anderson. He's like, I'm a friend of his lawyer. A lot of the stories were true. I believe it, right? I just thought, like, I saw that, and I think I only saw one article about him when he passed away last week, and I'm like, why isn't there more about him? It was last Wednesday that he died, and there's hardly anything. I think that they just want it to go under the rug, forget about him, but he did some important things. So, Larry Flint. Okay. Another thing I wanted to bring up today for intellectual freedom news is Kat Von D had a Miles Davis tattoo. And this is just really weird because you think like all the people who have like weird stuff on their tattoos, like I was thinking like The Simpsons or copyrighted material, like you have a Disney thing, like you might have Mickey Mouse on your butt, who knows? But Kat Von D said that a photographer, she based a Miles Davis her tattoo of Miles Davis. I wonder if there's a picture of her tattoo.
She accepted that the conservatorship was going to happen, but
sorry, I clicked on it because I was like, I want to see the picture of it, but they won't even show it. Is this it? They just have a picture of Miles Davis, who is awesome, by the way. You should look at Miles Davis if you get a chance. But this is going to start that stupid video again. Anyway, so Kat Von D did a Miles Davis tattoo for a customer that she drew it based on a picture and posted it to Instagram showing the tattoo art. And then there was a lawsuit in California court that says the photographer Jeffrey Sedlick claims that Von D's tattoo constitutes copyright infringement of his image and alleges he is the sole and exclusive owner of the copyright of an iconic portrait of Davis, which he created in 1989, first published on a cover of a cover story in Jazz's magazine in 1989. And this photographer says he independently created the image and has offered and sold non-exclusive copyright licenses to others to reproduce, distribute, and display that image since its creation. So, is a tattoo under the same copyright law as something that's online or on a website or whatever when you have it on your body? And what happens if the lawsuit goes through and they're like, yeah, you can't have that on your shoulder? Are they going to make them take it off? And are they going to just make her take down her picture of it on her what is it, her Twitter or whatever? She has over 7 million followers, so maybe that's the problem. And then Kat Von D said in her post, can't believe this is the first time I've gotten to tattoo a portrait of Miles Davis. And then the caption tags defendant high voltage tattoo with its Instagram user. So the artist, the photographer of the original pictures asking the court order to order the defendants to remove content referencing the images from all print, web, and social media platforms, and also enjoining them from any further use of the image, so they can never do another tattoo with the Miles Davis on it. He's additionally requesting that statutory damages of $150,000 per work depicting the tattoo. So anytime someone uses a copyrighted picture, like a photographer's image on a tattoo, that they could get money from it. So this seems like a big money grab. What will be interesting is to see what happens with this. I think this is a ludicrous kind of thing. I think the most they could hope for is for her to take down the art, the picture of the art from her social media. But is tattooing.
She accepted that the conservatorship was going to...
Oh, hate it when things just automatically play. Turning that off, that's so annoying. So, yes. Oh, am I sounding okay? I worry. Yeah. I look, because every once in a while my microphone turns off, so I'm always like checking it now. I'm obsessive about it. So, hi Jeffrey, nice to see you. So tattoos, that could be something to watch. If that actually goes through, it could set up a precedent for lawsuits on tattoos and copyrighted images on tattoos. I'm not sure how they will enforce this, since most people I know who do tattoos give no shits about that sort of thing, and they're going to do it if people pay them to do it. And once you have it on your skin, how are you going to take that off? Are they going to make people laser it off? I don't know. I am doing good, thank you. So, like, what if Disney gets all into this shit and they're like, yeah, you got like, I don't know, like Baby Yoda tattooed on your arm. You can't do that without paying us. It could totally change the tattoo industry. So I hope that doesn't go through. Yes. Very good. Okay. So we're running out of time. Let me look at one last thing. Oh, is this the one I was looking at? No, that one's it. Here's one in an article in a website called Just Security. And this one I hadn't seen before. This site kind of have like different opinions on the way they wrote it. So, to prevent domestic terrorism, the article says, the U.S. needs community reporting that protects civil liberties. I'm going to stop you right there, Just Security. I don't really like community reporting, but I do like civil liberties. So, they have put digital billboards nationally. The FBI has received more than 200,000 tips, opened more than 500 investigations, and made 70 arrests tied to the January 6th attack on the Capitol. So they're hoping that people turn their neighbors in. So the government and the public are grateful, they say, or especially the government is grateful for the outpouring of public support in finding those responsible for the insurrection. But this is typical. They really want people to turn in their neighbors and friends and family. And usually it's easier because, like people post on Facebook, they post on social media, and they don't think about the fact that it can be used against them. According to this article, they said 3 out of 4 cases of terrorism or other mass attacks are family members, friends, or coworkers suspected of something serious was awry. So they are the ones who turn it in. So, I think if you know someone who's going to do something truly terrible, definitely turn them in. But I'm not really sure it's a healthy thing to set up a society of people who narc on each other constantly, which is what it's leading to. They start off with big things like turning in for an insurrection. Of course you're going to feel like, man, I'm doing a good thing by turning in this mofo, or murder, or any of it. Like, hell yeah, definitely turn in murderers. We don't like that. But then it leads to things like, have you seen your neighbors not wearing masks in situations? Or did you hear them talking about the government in a bad way? And, it just like trickles down until it's like you just have an unpopular opinion. And we have all the cancel culture stuff. Anyway, so what I think it's leading to is this society where nobody trusts each other. And this is what they had said. One of the examples they said is one person who did come forward was 18-year-old Jackson Reffitt, whose father is in a right-wing militia, and told him he was about to do something really big. And he didn't know what he was going to do, so he turned in his father. And he notified the FBI, and they returned his call. Jackson's father, not knowing his son had already reported him weeks earlier, told him that he'd be a traitor if he did so, and that traitors get shot. That's terrifying. So they called him brave, and I just think like it's the kind of thing that tears families apart too. I mean, that son and father are probably never going to talk to each other again, really. they're encouraging people to do this, and the article talks about, which I think is a good thing, is they go into the racial side of it, like with the Black Lives Matter and the Muslim Americans during post 9/11, and how people were just reporting like, oh, there's a black person here and they're gonna riot, and or there's a Muslim and they're gonna blow up a building, and a lot of it is wrong because people are stupid. And once you give them this power and you say, we'll listen to you for everything, um, they need to realize that the majority of people turning in information, it's in their heads. There's a lot of crazy stuff that comes out of it. So I think, of course, we don't want domestic terrorism. Of course, we don't. But we need to not trample on civil liberties and human rights, which is what the article goes into. And I think we need to worry about that. Is this self-reporting system, is it going to be enforcing embedded institutional racism? Is it going to do things like have political parties go against each other? Is it going to be something that gets really unhealthy? Racism, sexism, there's so many ways that this could go wrong. So they need to, if they're going to use something like where self-reporting, where people are turning in their neighbors and family and friends, there needs to be protections that they're not just going to go in and shoot somebody because there was, they said, oh, I think that guy's a terrorist. Maybe there's more to it. Maybe that like a son and a father don't like each other. There could be more to it. So what do you think about that? Do you think there should be? oh, oh man, I'm looking at all this stuff. Check my DM. Okay, dude. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Okay, so I'm running out of time, but ultimately, stuff like that makes me really want to go to Mars and get off of this planet because there's some batshit stuff going on. But I do think that there's a lot of potential out there. So I hope my Mars stuff gives you some optimism. I've been thinking about that lately. We had so many sad things like with Texas and the giant weather of bullshit crap that's like making power outages and all sorts of stuff that's going on. And I just was like, you know what? I needed something good. And I'm really glad that there was something good today because it really changed things in my head. So I hope it changed things for you guys too. And I really appreciate y'all coming and hanging out with me today. And hopefully we'll have some more fun next week and it'll start getting warmer and you can have power in all around the country. And I just adore you all. And I love the comments. And I will see you next week for another Liberty Librarian on Thursdays. Have a wonderful week. I will see you all later. Oh, and I had this. Like, did you see my art? I made that for today just because space. And I just like the little alien guy screaming at me. Wah! But anyway, one of these days, we're going to have, oh, I can take that off now. One of these days, we're going to have an aliens show because I just thought about all the alien stuff that I'm interested in lately. So anyway, have a great week. We'll see you next Thursday.